you're tired of dry textbook reading material, or if you just want to get a sense of how the language feels like in real life, it might be a perfect time to pick up the proper book in a foreign language. Who am I? My name is Olga, I'm fluent in 5 languages, and I strongly believe that reading books, when done correctly, can improve your level dramatically. In this video, I want to share with you my approach to reading, from choosing the right book to working with unknown words. Let's dive in. A lot of people make the mistake of waiting until they are more or less fluent to start reading books in a foreign language. And this is mostly dictated by the fear of not being able to understand enough to properly enjoy the book, or being bothered by way too many unknown words. Let me debunk this myth once and for all. If you are at an intermediate level, you will be able to understand a decent amount and enjoy the book even if a few words trip you up. For some of us, it may be a hard pill to swallow, but it's impossible to read an entire book in a foreign language and recognize every single word, even if you've just passed a C2 level proficiency exam. The thing is, there's always going to be new words for you out there, and that's okay, you just have to accept it. In fact, even native speakers encounter new words when reading classic novels, for example. What you're mainly trying to achieve through reading a book in a foreign language is to become comfortable with naturally flowing long sentences written by native speakers for native speakers, instead of the typical simple textbook style of writing that we are normally used to. So, how do you choose a book? When it comes to reading in a foreign language, I have 3 criteria. Number 1, steer clear of classics. Now, you may want to flaunt your level by saying that you've tackled Madame Bovary in French, but in reality, the outdated vocabulary and the super complex style will overwhelm you before you even finish the first chapter. Number 2, steer clear of fantasy books. Now, when it comes to reading in a foreign language, a lot of people out there advise to start out with Harry Potter, because we've all read it in our childhoods, and supposedly knowing the plot is going to make it a much easier experience. But actually, I think it's a bad idea. No offense to Harry. The problem with fantasy books is that they use a lot of invented words and magic terminology. Things like potions, magic wands, Quidditch, and so on. And the thing is, at this stage, you're reading books to improve your vocabulary on topics that you are most likely to use in your daily life. So, even though it pains me to say this, the letter from Hogwarts will have to wait. Our most important criterion is number 3. Choose contemporary books that you would enjoy reading in your own language. I mean, the whole point of this is picking up something so engaging that you just keep turning the pages. And actually, that's why genres like detectives or romantic novels are so perfect, because they're fun, easy to get into, and full of everyday vocabulary that is perfect for language learners. Now that we've figured out how to choose a book, let's talk about what to do with all the unknown words that start sneaking up at you from every page once you start reading. Rule number 1, don't translate every single unknown word. A lot of people make this mistake, but at this stage, you're reading books for general comprehension and to get into the flow of the language. You will never finish a book or enjoy it if you stop to check every single word that comes your way. Instead, focus your attention on unknown words that pop up frequently. Now, you might or might not guess their meaning from the context, but purely for the reason of having seen them more than a few times, you'll remember them much more easily. The second category of words is unusual, curious words that immediately grab your attention when you see them. Something like lackadaisical or kerfuffle. For me, delicious words like that are worth noting down because they've already captured my attention. Plus, I'm very likely to form some sort of visual association with them. Personally, I highlight them or write them down on sticky notes so that I don't interrupt my reading. But sometimes the word is just so enticing that I have to stop and look it up on the spot. To get the maximum value out of a book, I actually recommend you to read it aloud. Now, I've spoken about this in my video on my favorite techniques for improving pronunciation, but in short, reading French books aloud did wonders for me, and it actually allowed me to practice long, difficult words much more than I would have ever been able to do in casual daily conversations. So I strongly recommend you to check out this video and try it out for yourself. And finally, I want to talk about how I'm reading books in a foreign language right now. So I've recently finished a novel called The Brooklyn Follies by Paul Auster, which I enjoyed so much that I devoured it in a few days. Now, for me, the defining feature of Paul Auster's style is his flow of consciousness. He sort of picks you up on his wave of thought and carries you along throughout the book, which makes it very easy to follow along, but also keeps you hooked. I've never stopped in my life, but in my head, that's what it feels like, metaphorically speaking. To be fair, reading in English is nothing new to me, but I thought, hey, what if I get this book in French and give it a go? And before you say things like, oh, you've literally just read it and it must be so boring, stop. It's a 400-page book, and yes, it would have been boring to read it in English straight away, but in French it has a completely different feel. Plus, given that it's a pretty long novel, I don't remember stories and details as well as I would have if it were, I don't know, a short story or a TED Talk transcript in another language. Secondly, the book itself is amazing. The writing style, the choice of words, the plot, the character descriptions. So I'm basically rereading something that I know I'll enjoy profoundly. Which actually brings us back to the earlier point about selecting books that you'll naturally gravitate towards in the first place. Thirdly, this is the first time that I decided to play detective while reading. Let me explain. So my earlier points about picking up new words apply, but this time around, since I'm rereading this book, I'm also writing down the words and phrases that I remember or that I think I remember from the original version. I write them down in my notebook as I go, adding a question mark next to them. And to show you how it looks like in action, let's look at a couple of examples. So here I have La passion est arrivée en bout de course. The passion has run its course. And il ne valait pas grand-chose au registre parental. He wasn't good in the parenting department. Again, the question mark is for me to check whether I remember the phrases correctly. And when I do, it always feels like a small win and it genuinely motivates me. Baby steps. And obviously, I'm not going to finish this book as fast as I did in English. But that's not the point. The point is to squeeze in some language learning in a way that feels seamless, enjoyable, and actually worthwhile. Now over to you. What languages are you learning right now, and which books have you been reading? If you know any good ones in Turkish, French, or Spanish, drop them in the comments below. I'm always on the lookout for recommendations, and who knows, some learners might find them useful too. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more language learning tips, and I'll see you in the next video.